Hi guys, it's Mark Zicree, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Mark Zicree of Space Command, and this is another in my series of videos about how to write. and for those who don't know my credentials, just you can Google me or go on IMDb or whatever. Just suffice it to say, I've written a lot of stuff, and also, in the meantime, we have a Kickstarter campaign going for Space Command. You can buy Space Command shares. All the information is down below. You can check it out. But that is not here what we're talking about primarily. This is about how to write a script. Now, here's several pieces of advice right off the top. Don't write a script in Word. Get one of the Final Draft or one of the other script writing programs. I use Final Draft. I like it. I think it's really good. Learning the format is not that hard, but it's very important. You can one way you can learn it is you can just find a script online, something that's been produced that you liked, and print it out, and then copy type about 5 pages of it, and that'll start to give you the sense memory of how a script works, and because you want it to become kind of second nature, and it's not that hard at all. But the other thing to remember is a movie or a TV show is just what you can see and hear, as opposed to a novel or a short story. We've got the internal monologue. You're inside somebody's head looking out through their eyes. In movies and TV, it's what you see and hear. And you can use voiceover and you can use flashbacks and some of those things, but sparingly. And there's always going to be exceptions to the rules, so just keep that in mind. But essentially, if you say, okay, it's not, so you can't say that John walks into the room thinking of his wife and their divorce, because that's not something you can see, right? Unless you have a voiceover going, I was thinking about my divorce, which is going to be a little bit funky. But at the same time, don't over-describe. So, for instance, if you have him walk into a living room, him or her, don't have like pages and pages of description, because people reading the script will just not read it. Your shot description should be no more than 2 or 3 lines. And then if you need to go on, you can drop down and have a new paragraph. But generally, you want to be as spare as you can be, because people reading a script is very different from watching a TV show or a movie. It's a more arduous process, and so you want to make it a pleasant read. You want to make it pleasant for people to be reading it. So you can help them by being spare and to the point. So you don't have to over-describe. Never describe every bit of furniture in the living room and the colors and the patterns. No, just, cut to the chase. And in terms of dialogue, some people feel like putting a parenthetical on every single line of dialogue because they want the actors to know how it's supposed to be read. Actors ignore that stuff. And so the fewer parentheticals, the better. In terms of dialogue, a common mistake people make is writing exactly what people are feeling or thinking. That's not what people do in real life. So subtext is a good idea. So think about, if you're writing down a line like, I hate you, Bob, the most obvious thing that comes to mind, you can start with that, but then cross it out and think, okay, how could we know that this person hates Bob without him or her overtly saying it? And that's going to give you a line that's going to be much more interesting. I mean, it can literally be almost any line. It can be, are you going to eat that? It can be, you chose to wear that today, whatever. But you'll find that it gives you much more richness and much more, it just makes it more interesting. Additionally, remember that a script is a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a story. So it's not just a slice of life, generally. It's not just like, oh, well, this is what this looked like or sounded like. Being accurate to life is not the job of the writer. Being entertaining and ideally conveying a truth is. So it's our job as writers to select the details we impart to make it, it's a heightened form of storytelling. It's a heightened way of conveying life by making choices. So with your script, now also be aware of the length. So for instance, a TV script might be an hour script, might be 50 to 60 pages. A screenplay might be 100 to 120. Generally, it's about a minute a page. Be aware of what market you're writing to. So for instance, if it's going to cost $200 million, there's not many places that can make a movie of that cost, so you're limiting where you can send it. We'll get much more into the specifics of selling scripts later, but for now, just write your story, write it entertainingly, write it inventively. Don't just rip off other stories. Don't just do what's been done before. Look at what's going to make your story interesting or distinctive. But also be aware of what the format, what the genre, what the medium requires. So, for instance, if you're writing science fiction, look at the science fiction movies or the science fiction TV shows. Educate yourself. And in terms of writing roles that actors want to play, making the characters drive the action, making them verbally clever. And again, with verbal cleverness, you don't want that to make it seem like they're not treating the story seriously. If they seem contemptuous of the story or just wisecracking, that's not going to endear us to the character. It's about us getting interested in this character and wanting to take a journey with them. So, beyond that, I'm thinking what other things. People read scripts more and more on PDFs now than they used to. It used to be you'd send hard copies. That's less and less the case. So obviously having the ability to turn your scripts into PDFs is important. And also you want, and make sure, really go through it for misspellings. You have no idea how many scripts I've seen that have misspellings on the title page, and that does not bode well. So additionally, I tend to, just personally, I tend not to mention actors, like this is a Tom Cruise kind of guy. I tend not to do that because it seems like, I don't know, funky to me. But, or a line like, this is a role a star would want to play. That's kind of like, man. But find the way to make the character really cool, really distinctive, really interesting. If you want to read some samples of scripts I've written, I've got them posted at various places, such as markzickery.com, which needs to be updated significantly, that website. But anyway, that's some of it. I'm trying to think of what other things will help you guys. You want, when you're writing scripts, to not get lost. Like, don't keep outlining and outlining and outlining. At some point, take a run at the script, because you don't want to lose all your enthusiasm for the subject by the time you get to the script itself. Additionally, I tend not to physically describe the characters too specifically. So I won't say someone's a blonde or someone has a mustache or whatever, because you don't know the actors that are ultimately going to play the role, and you want to keep that open. So I might say he's charismatic and athletic, or whatever. In other words, you might give a sense of what he looks like walking into a room without being the specifics of, hair color, etc. But if it is specific to the role, he's got a scar across his face and one eye is missing or whatever, then yes. And beyond that, the other thing is, don't write toward what you think is popular now, because by the time you finish the script, by the time you get it out there, that train will have left. And so I always just write what I want to see. I always just write what excites me and what interests me, and that's been a very good guide over my entire career. So that's some of it for now. We'll be talking more about a lot of other writing issues. If there are issues you want me to talk about specifically, just make a comment. And remember to check out our Kickstarter campaign, subscribe to Mr. Sci-Fi, tap the little bell below here where you'll get notifications when we post. We're going to be posting a lot of videos over the next few days as our campaign enters its final stage, and then we'll continue posting ongoingly. So that's about it for right now. And just so check out our Kickstarter campaign. If you want to buy Space Command shares, you can contact me, and lots of adventures to come. Talk soon, guys. Bye.